So today, I decided to step into the world of game development with Unity. Everyone's making games these days, so I thought, how hard can it be, right? And this is where my life changed forever.
2 hours later.
Finally, Unity has opened. Time to make my dream game. A game so epic, so legendary, that even AAA studios will take notes. Or so I thought. All right, let's start by creating a project. New project, name it something awesome, game that changes the world. Wait, why are there so many buttons? Ladies and gentlemen, behold the cube, the foundation of all great games. This cube will revolutionize the gaming industry. Okay, maybe not. So now I am here, and I have no idea what kind of game to make. But I want to try making an open world game where we can walk and run. However, when I opened it, this error is showing up. I tried fixing it, but I don't know what the issue is. So I am leaving it for now, as long as it doesn't cause any problems in our work. And yes, why am I talking about making an open world game? Because I have already spent 6-7 hours watching lots of tutorials, and the best one is Bracky's Cube Game series, so I think I am ready. Let's go. So for an open world game, the first thing we'll need is an open world. Yes, obvious stuff. To create it in Unity, we'll use some assets. So I'll open the Unity asset store, and we are here now. We'll need 3 assets, so I'll quickly install all 3 of them. And now we'll wait for all of this to install. It might take some time. And after installation, we'll now import all 3 of them. And I guess here are all our packages. Before moving forward, I'm installing one more tool, which is named this. Once it's installed, we'll start designing our world. So now, all our assets have been installed, and the first thing I'll quickly do is save, just as Bracky's taught me. And done. Now we're saved. Next, we'll right-click here and add a new terrain. And after that, we can see so many options showing up on the right side. First of all, I'll delete the cube from here, and I'll add it back later. Now, let's create a nice map for our open world game. So here you can see a lot of tools, and yes, to make sure these are visible, ensure that you have selected the terrain. After that, the first thing we need to do is set the height. For that, I'll click on the Paint Terrain option here and select Set Height from the drop-down. Now we can see the height option here. And yes, for all these options, make sure you have those assets installed. Now, we are in the space world and have set the height to 100, flatten the tile, and it's done. Now, we need to use brushes to design. So let's do that. For that, we need to go here, and instead of set height, now we'll set raise or lower terrain. After that, we need to select a brush from here. So I'll choose this one. But I don't know why the brush option isn't showing up, like how to paint or something. Oh, wait, maybe I need to increase the brush size. So let me increase it. Yeah, now it's working. Cool. Now the brush is visible, and I think it's perfect for the terrain. From here, we can increase or decrease the brush size and adjust the strength. If I hold here, it'll increase the height, and if I press Ctrl and click, it will decrease the height, just as it says here. Nice. So now I'll quickly create this and then move on to the next part. As you know, I'm not a pro Unity builder, so this is all I managed to create, and maybe it's okay and works properly. Right now, it looks pretty bad to me, but let's see. For now, I still need to add trees and grass, so let's get to that. Right now, this looks really bad, as you know, so let's add some textures to make it look like a proper world. For that, I'll select the terrain, then choose Paint Texture. After that, you'll see the layer option here. I'll click on it and create a layer named Grass. Now, we need to select a texture, so I'll pick something nice. I've chosen this one, and I think it looks good. To add more depth to the textures, we also need to add a normal map. For that, I'll click here and select a normal map. I'll tweak it a bit to tone it down, and yeah, now it looks perfect. Adjusting a few more properties here and there, it's starting to look better, but there are still some missing elements like paths, trees, and grass. So first, let's create the path. For that, I'll go back here, create a layer named ground, and select a dirt type texture. I'll also add a normal map to this layer, just like before. Then I'll choose this brush, which looks suitable for creating paths. I'll adjust the size and strength, make sure my dirt texture is selected, and now I just need to paint normally. Let me quickly create a basic path. So this still doesn't look very cool, which is obvious since it's my first time, but we'll keep moving forward and add more things. Before that, I'll add a cube that will act as our player. Then I'll adjust the camera a bit to make it look like we're inside the world. It doesn't look that bad now, and honestly, I'm already happy with what I've made so far. And yes, if you're wondering how I'm making this, it's because I've watched a lot of tutorials on this topic, like a lot of them. First of all, this looks a bit dark, so I'll quickly change it to make it a bit lighter. And yes, now it looks better. Now we need to add trees. For that, we'll select the terrain, go to the Paint Trees option, and choose a tree from here. I'll select this one, and now if I click, it adds the tree. Nice. But if we do it this way, it will take a lot of time to cover the entire terrain, right? So there's an easier way to quickly add trees across the terrain. For that, we'll click on Mass Place Trees, set how many trees we want, and there you go. As you can see, it has added trees across the entire terrain. Some trees might end up on the path, but we can easily fix that by holding Control and clicking to remove them. So let me quickly fix the terrain a bit, and then we'll move forward. And now, this looks much better. It looks cool and also realistic. But there's one thing missing, and that's grass. So now we need to add grass and some meshes. For that, we'll go to the Paint Details section, click on Add Grass, and choose a texture from here. You can set the details from here, and then simply paint. So now, I'll add meshes and grass across the entire terrain, and then we'll move forward. Now this looks much better. The lighting is a bit low, so I'll go to this tab and tweak a few things to make it better. It didn't improve a lot, but it looks good. Now, the last thing is the sky, because it still looks basic. I'll change it, and for that, I downloaded this asset from the Unity store. So I'll quickly replace it, and perfect, it looks really cool now. And finally, this poor guy who has been standing here for so long needs to learn how to walk and run so he can explore this world. For that, we'll need to write some code. And I love coding as long as there are no errors. I've already downloaded Visual Studio for this, so everything is set up. Now it's time to code, so let's go. Before writing the player script, we need to fix the camera. Here you can see the main camera and the game window. Based on these, we need to adjust the camera. To do that, I'll set this window here along with it. Now, I'll select the main camera, and when we press F, it will automatically take us to it. Now, using the arrows and rotate tools, I'll set it according to the player, so that when the player moves, it will be visible. Now, this looks fine. To add the script, we will select our player, which is the cube, and then click on Add Component here. A new script will be created, and we'll name it player movement. Now, when we double click on it, it will open in Visual Studio. And here we need to write the code. First, I'll remove the unnecessary things, and I'll also remove the start function here. Now, let's start writing the code. First, I created a public float variable named speed and set the player's speed to 5. I used F because it's a float variable, and I created it here so that if we need to adjust the player's speed, we can do it directly from Unity without needing to modify the code. I'll show you how. After that, we'll create 2 more variables to get the horizontal and vertical axis. Then we'll use vector3 for movement. Let me quickly write this small code, then we'll save the file, go to Unity, and it will load the scripts. You can see the speed input box here, and we can easily increase or decrease the speed from here. Now, when I play the game, you can see that I'm using the W, A, S, and D keys to move the player. However, there are some issues. First, the player is not on the ground, it's floating in the air, which is not possible in this world. Second, the player is going through the trees. Third, our camera is stuck here. So let's fix these things. First, I'll fix the camera, and for that, I'll need to watch some tutorials and then practice. I'll come back to it later. All right. So to move the camera with the player, we first need to write a script that will be attached to the camera. Before that, I'll adjust the camera a bit because this is a first-person game. After that, we'll add a script called follow player to the main camera, open it, write some code, and then save the file. Once we do that, we'll go back to Unity. Now, we need to assign the player to it. For that, we'll select the player and drag and drop it. Done. Now, let's play and check it. As you can see, it's working. Pressing W moves the player forward, S moves it backward, A to the left, and D to the right. I know it's not perfect, but I'm just gaining experience. If you like this video enough, I'll make more on this topic, and we'll create a proper game in future videos. For now, I'll fix it a bit more. The camera is fine, and now we need to make sure the player stays on the ground and doesn't go through the trees. So let's do that. And then something happened. Until now, everything seemed easy to me, but I started facing a lot of issues. I added a ground check to detect whether the player was on the ground, wrote many scripts to move the camera with the player, but nothing was working. I spent a full 2 hours trying to fix it, trying again and again. When I finally fixed the camera, the player wasn't moving. Then I tried bringing the player down to the ground on a flat surface. But the issue persisted. The player kept falling. Next, I replaced the player with a capsule, then replaced the capsule back with a cube. But nothing was working. After trying multiple times, I ended up deleting everything, the scripts, the player, everything, and started building it again from scratch. I watched some tutorials. And again, brackeys helped a lot. Eventually, I wrote the scripts to look around using the mouse, and then added movement in a similar way. The player was moving, but one issue still remained. The player wasn't staying on the ground. This time, though, it was easier to fix. And after writing a bit more code, it finally worked. Now everything is working perfectly. We can roam around the entire world and everything looks so beautiful. Look at how amazing our world looks. Yes, the speed is a bit fast, but we can reduce it from here. For now, it's fine. So that's it for today's video. This was such an amazing experience. I mean, it's fun to make. Even now, I know my dream of making a proper game, or even a normal game, is still far away. But in this world, we can add so many things like animals, day and night cycle, villages, more people, and a lot more. So yeah, that's it for today. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Thanks and bye-bye.